Reading and writing data on a hard drive requires a physical component. Inside the casing, a mechanical arm sweeps a read-write head across a spinning platter to locate specific tracks of information. The simplest way an operating system can tell that arm where to go is first come, first served, or FCFS. In this baseline model, the disk processes incoming data requests in the exact chronological order they arrive. If request 1 is at the inner edge of the disk and request 2 is at the outer edge, the arm has to swing the entire width of the platter. Multiply that by thousands of randomized chronological requests, and the system experiences thrashing, a state where the hardware bounces erratically back and forth across the entire disk, wasting energy and time. The split-screen diagram quantifies the cost of that thrashing using our standard dataset. On the left, processing these requests chronologically forces the disk head to travel a massive total distance of 640 cylinders. On the right, we see a single, smooth path that accomplishes the exact same workload while traveling only 236 cylinders. That highly efficient path on the right is generated by the scan algorithm. By abandoning chronological order, it reduces the total mechanical movement of the drive by over 60%. Scan is almost universally referred to as the elevator algorithm. Instead of responding to the timeline of requests, it commits to a single direction, servicing every request along its path until it hits the end, and only then reverses course. We are going to deconstruct the exact mechanics of this algorithm by tracing a complete exam-grade dataset step by step. Efficient scheduling isn't just a software preference, it directly minimizes the physical friction and thermal wear on the mechanical arm. To trace the mathematical model, we first have to establish the specific parameters of the drive we are evaluating. This horizontal number line models the physical tracks of our hard disk. The absolute boundaries of the cylinder range are marked at 0 on the left and 199 on the right. We will plot the initial starting position of the read-write head exactly here at cylinder 53. Next, we map the raw disk queue. There are 8 pending data requests currently distributed randomly across the timeline: 98, 183, 37, 122, 14, 124, 65, and 67. Before any calculation can begin, the scan algorithm requires one mandatory prerequisite. The system must establish a fixed initial direction of movement. For this specific derivation, we will operate under the assumption that the initial direction of the head is moving toward 0, or to the left. Without defining both that initial coordinate and an absolute starting direction, the elevator algorithm cannot function. The first procedural step is to analyze the incoming numerical queue relative to our starting position at cylinder 53. As seen here, we separate incoming requests into 2 distinct groups based on our initial leftward direction. The first group, located left of 53, contains cylinders 37 and 14. The remaining subset populates the rightward path: 65, 67, 98, 122, 124, and 183. Sorting the data out of its chronological arrival time and into distinct spatial coordinates ensures that the hardware can complete a continuous sweep in one direction without doubling back. This spatial sort converts a chaotic queue of arrival times into a highly structured geographic map. With the map built, we begin the physical execution phase. The read-write head activates and moves along the leftward path. The table tracks the head's progress, servicing the first localized request at 37. Subtracting 37 from 53 yields a distance of 16 cylinders. Continuing to the next request at 14 adds another 23 cylinders to the running ledger. With the final request in the leftward queue serviced at 14, the head does not immediately reverse its direction. Look at the warning highlighted at the 0 mark. The scan algorithm dictates the head must continue moving to the physical boundary of the disk. Even without a pending request at cylinder 0, it forces the hardware to travel there. This forced journey requires covering the distance from 14 to 0, adding another 14 cylinders to our cumulative mathematical table. Strict adherence to the edge boundary, regardless of where the data actually lies, is the defining characteristic that separates scan from other optimized scheduling models. Hitting that 0 boundary acts as the crucial trigger mechanism for the system. The algorithm now reverses direction. The head sweeps right, picking up remaining requests. The table logs distances hitting 65, 67, 98, 122, 124, and 183. The largest jump crosses from 0 to 65. Then the queue empties through microjumps, 2, 31, 24, 2, and 59. Notice a secondary rule in effect here. Unlike the initial sweep, the head stops at the final request on the return trip. It does not travel to the far edge at 199. With the queue completely empty, we can determine the final algorithmic cost of the process. Summing the populated column of stepwise movements reveals our ultimate efficiency metric. Total head movement equals exactly 236 cylinders. Dividing this total by the 8 original requests yields an average seek time of 29.5 cylinders per request. Enforcing a strict unidirectional constraint systematically resolves a chaotic queue with minimal mechanical strain on the hardware itself. To evaluate how good a 236-cylinder result actually is, we have to compare SCAN against alternative optimization strategies. This table compares our results against a competing model called Shortest Seek Time First, or SSTF. SSTF ignores direction, simply targeting whichever request is closest. The data reveals an anomaly. Both SSFTF and SCAN achieved the exact same total head movement of 236 cylinders. If both algorithms yield identical mechanical efficiency for this dataset, why is SCAN the preferred choice in modern operating systems? While their efficiency scores match, SSFTF is vulnerable to a state called starvation, where specific data requests are perpetually delayed because the system prioritizes more convenient tasks. This visual model shows how SSFTF causes starvation. Because it always seeks the closest data, a continuous stream of localized requests can trap the hardware on one side of the disk indefinitely. Meanwhile, an isolated request on the far side flashes, permanently ignored. SCAN naturally prevents starvation. Because the algorithm mandates a full wall-to-wall sweep, it guarantees that no request can be bypassed forever. The head will eventually reach every coordinate. SCAN provides raw movement reduction, but its architectural value comes from guaranteeing absolute procedural fairness across the entire dataset. Implementing absolute procedural fairness always introduces a trade-off in system design. Revisiting the math table, the primary disadvantage of the elevator algorithm is isolated in the 14-0 boundary jump. Visiting end cylinders with 0 data requests generates unnecessary wear. The arm swings out to the absolute edge solely to satisfy the algorithm's rule structure. There is a secondary disadvantage. If a new request lands geographically just behind the sweeping head, it suffers a prolonged wait time, as it must wait for the head to reach the boundary and reverse course entirely. Despite these empty movements, SCAN organizes the randomized arrivals of FCFS while eliminating the starvation risks found in Shortest Seek Time First. The elevator algorithm remains a standard in operating system theory because it represents a reliable compromise between peak mechanical efficiency and uniform service for every request.